Hello, everybody. This is Dustin. I'm with www.gamblingonfreedom.com, and I'm a hypnotherapist who specializes in gambling addiction. I'm here today to talk to you guys a little bit about gambling addiction and uh, what components are with it. So, today's video, I wanted to talk about a couple things of why people might choose to chase losses, even when they know they might lose more. Right? And this is a big thing because there's a couple different components here. If you've ever seen any of my videos or know any of my work, you'll know that I really heavily talk about emotions and how emotions drive behavior. Even if you don't understand how your emotion is driving behavior, it is. And so, one of the reasons people might chase losses, even though they know they're going to lose more, is because there's this shame and guilt cycle that we would fall into. Okay, so essentially what happens is we have this urge to gamble, and an urge really is just a craving, right? So as a hypnotherapist, I tend to work with smokers and drinkers and other things like that. And a craving is simply just a positive thought about the thing, right? When you think about smoking, it's a really easy concept when you think about smoking. I want a cigarette. I'm going out with people. I want to have a cigarette because I want to be social. I want to have a cigarette to drive to work. I want to have a cigarette when I'm on my break. And there's this desire, there's this craving for the cigarette. So it's just a craving, it's a positive thought. Think about gambling urges now. It's the same thing. There's a urge to gamble. You have a craving. Positive thoughts. What if I win the jackpot? What if all my debt is gone? Right? And so we have these urges, we have these craving thoughts, and then we go gamble and we have a lot of really good feelings, a lot of rush, a lot of excitement, a lot of happiness. But then the bill comes due and we have lost all of our money. We spent our entire paycheck. We broke promises to loved ones. We broke promises to ourselves. We feel guilt and shame and pain and hurt, disappointment, sadness, and all of those emotions start to build over the next week, over the next couple weeks, over the next month, however long it takes, until it gets to a point where those emotions need to be handled. And the way that we handle them and the way that the brain has learned to handle them in this case is to gamble. So the coping mechanism is gambling, which means it's the solution, not the problem. It's the solution to your problem. Your problem is all the emotional stuff, all this emotional stuff that you are trying to run away from. And so the urges start to get away from all of this. The brain finds a way to relieve control, right? Relieve the feelings of all of this. And so what it does, it says, okay, let's have some urges. Let's have some positive thoughts now about gambling, about the coping mechanism that we know works. And then you gamble, you find relief, your paycheck, your debt comes due, and then you have all the negative emotions. So this is the shame guilt cycle. It's a recursive loop that gamblers tend to fall into. And it's one of the components as to why a person would chase losses. The second component is a little bit more technical. And this is based on what's called variable rates of change. Now, in society, as we grow up, we play games, especially boys. Boys play games, and so do girls. I'm not going to eliminate women, but we play games as society, right? As we grow up, we play games, and so what happens is in any sort of game setting, there's usually a fixed variable rate of change, meaning that if I've lost 4 games in a row, there's a very good chance I'm going to win one. If I've lost 3, there's a very good chance I'm going to win one. If I've lost 7, there's almost no way I lose that 8th game. I'm going to win, right? And so we sort of conditioned in this way to believe that if we've lost X amount of games, we're going to win the next one. Like there's no doubt almost in our mind about that. So what gambling does is that actually hijacks that very common standardized idea of how we play games. The brain wants to see things in a fixed variable rate of change because it's a pattern recognizing machine, right? Our brains are pattern matching machines. And so it sees 4 losses, I'm going to win. 5 losses, I'm going to win. But with gambling, it's completely randomized. It's not a fixed variable rate of change, it's a randomized variable rate of change. So when you go to the slot machine and you now have this algorithm running in the background, you could lose 5 in a row and win one, and then you could lose 20 in a row and win one, and then you could lose 13 in a row and win one, and then you could lose 50 in a row and win one. And so there is no fixed variable rate of change, it's randomized, which means that there is no predictability. The brain, as a pattern matching machine, wants predictability, but it doesn't have it when it comes to gambling. And so it hijacks that component, and it sort of makes us chase losses because there's almost no way if I've lost 10 in a row that I would lose the 11th. But then I do because it's completely random. So those two components, the guilt and shame cycle, where we're running away from emotions, needing relief, using gambling as a coping mechanism, that combined with the hijacking of the randomized variable rate of change, hijacking our fixed variable rate of change in our mind, those two components are really what drive chasing losses, in my opinion, in my own experience working with gamblers. And so, why, though, does it feel like gambling is the only thing that might give relief? Why is it even that? And the truth is, what happened was you might have had a lot of emotional garbage going on, whether it's depression, fear, anxiety, sadness, pain, hurt, jealousy, anger, any negative emotions could have done this. But let's just say you're having this negative emotional experience and you go to the casino one day or you go to play games one day, maybe it's just at a friend's house or something. And when you're playing, you now have complete relief. So what's going to happen is the brain is going to associate that relief with that game, with that coping mechanism. And it says, oh, so anytime I feel like this, I could feel like this instead by doing this thing. If I feel this way, and I know I don't like that because I want to move away from pain towards pleasure, then I'm going to do whatever I have to do to get back over here. And so this just becomes the coping mechanism, just like anything else, just like alcohol or cigarettes. It's the coping mechanism. It's actually the solution to your problem. Your problem is not dealing with all the emotional stuff underneath, right? All the shame, all the guilt, all the pain, all the fear, all the anxiety, all the depression, all the sadness of whatever components of your life that might have contributed to these things. That's what you're running away from. You're running away from that, going away from pain and towards pleasure of gambling. And so that's why it's the only thing that gives you relief, because it's associated to the pain. Whenever you feel this, this is a perfect solution. And so it just so happened that instead of drinking, perhaps when you felt this and associating it to drinking, it was just so happens that you were gambling at that time. You were playing a game, you were doing something fun instead of drinking or smoking or something else. And it's the same thing, though. You're still just associating the pain with the pleasure. And so this becomes the coping mechanism. So that's essentially what it is. And that's why gambling feels like it's the only sense of relief, because it is. It's the way that your brain learned to find relief. So I hope this video was helpful. My name is Dustin. My website is www.gamblingonfreedom.com. I give free consultations. They're about 30 minutes a piece. For anybody who might be interested in overcoming gambling addiction. If you're a problem gambler, compulsive gambler, you know you have this problem and you want to overcome it quick, I can help you with that. Because here's the thing, the standard approach to gambling addiction or problem gambling is CBT, which is cognitive behavioral therapy, and it's a great little tool, but it can take a long time to work, and it can only work so often. The way that I work, we satisfy the emotional needs underneath the problem, and then the urges just drop. They just stop. You don't have the craving thoughts anymore. You don't have the shame and the guilt. Let me ask you this. If there was no shame, no guilt, no sadness, no depression, no fear, no anxiety, none of the negative emotional associations, for what need would there be to have a coping mechanism? So the way that I work is I help clients overcome the emotional problems underneath. It's usually very quick. You'll learn how to process these out very fast, very rapidly. It's a faster form of therapy. It's more transformative. And yeah, I'd be happy to help you with that. Take a session or two and really just help you get your life back. Probably wouldn't even have to spend that next paycheck on gambling in the first place. So if that sounds good to you, book a free consultation. Let's talk and let's see if we can figure out what's actually going on, what's actually more at the root of your problem, because it's not the gambling, that's the solution. Your problem is all of this stuff over here, and I'd be happy to work through that with you on a call. So click the link below, subscribe if you liked any of this information, and take care for now, folks.